you have probably heard a few people talk about UGC recently, and you've probably heard it and thought, what on earth is that? Maybe you Googled it, maybe you've done a bit of research, maybe you thought, oh, that sounds interesting, and then you just stopped because you were like, I don't know how to do that, and I don't know what else to do with that information. Well, if that's you, then you're gonna like today's video, because I'm gonna be breaking down UGC, user-generated content, what it is, but more importantly, I'm gonna be telling you exactly how you can become a user-generated content creator, that's what UGC stands for, by the way, within 30 days or less. So let's just get straight to it. Guys, you knew I was gonna forget to do this, but before we jump in, if you like this type of content, I upload content just like this every week, so hit the subscribe button. Also, I have some freebies in my description that you would love, specifically my brand new guide to doubling your income as a content creator. Okay, let's get to it. So, what is UGC? Who is it for? Why does it exist? Etc. Let me give you a brief overview. So UGC, as mentioned, stands for user-generated content. It's actually not a new phrase at all, even though you might have only suddenly started hearing about it. It's a phrase that used to be used a lot in marketing during like the birth of social media, and it was traditionally used when a customer shared a post on social media which featured a brand's products or services. That was user-generated content. It literally means when a user, a customer, someone else creates content for a brand. That's just what it means, right? Nowadays, it's taken on like a whole new life form. And now when you hear the acronym UGC, what people are normally referring to is when a creator produces a lot of content for a brand as part of a partnership. And the reason why this has become a big thing is because nowadays brands have to produce and share so much content. Like, I know this from my own experience when I was a brand owner. The amount of content that you have to produce for your social channels is ridiculous. Your audience are like insatiable. They want new content like every few hours. So because of that, a lot of brands, specifically small to medium-sized brands, have turned to these UGC partnerships where they recruit a creator and their sole job is to produce a lot of content for them. Now, you might be wondering, okay, what is the difference between like a UGC partnership and like your more traditional influencer partnership? Well, for a UGC partnership, the creator or the influencer does not need a following. They have one job, and that is to produce content for the brand. They don't need to share that content on their own channel, so they don't need a following, they don't need an engaged audience, they don't need any of that. Whereas your more traditional influencer partnerships, you do either need a following or you need an engaged audience, etc. So because of that small but mighty difference, it actually means that there are a lot of creators out there who are now turning to UGC partnerships because they don't necessarily want to build an audience or they don't want to have a huge following, and they now realize that they don't need it. They can actually work with brands on a UGC basis and make a good living that way. So who is this best suited for? Well, if you're a content creator who is good at creating content, then you can do this. Literally. It's one of the most accessible forms of creator income, in all honesty, right? If you can capture a good photo or do a good video, then like you can do this, right? Who it's not for though, and this is important because no one really talks about this. If you are a creator or an influencer who does have a following, who does have a good engagement, etc., then I do not recommend that you explore UGC. Here is why. You are going to earn more money from traditional influencer partnerships when you work with a brand to create content and you share it on your channels, because your value comes from your audience. If you get rid of that and you say, I'm not going to share it on my channels, I just want to create content for you, you're still going to make money, but you're not going to make as much as if you shared it to your audience, because you're ignoring like where a lot of your value comes from. I hope that makes sense without me going too deep into the industry, but it's all that to say that it's super accessible. Anyone can truly do it, but it's best suited for people who don't care about building a following and instead just want to create good quality content. Okay, here comes your 30-day plan. Are you ready? Grab your notebooks. You can literally be a UGC content creator in 30 days or less. How exciting. So day number 1, this day needs to be spent with you picking a niche. You don't have to spend the whole day doing this, by the way. Like if you pick a niche in 10 minutes, then job done, you're done for the day. But your sole task for day 1 is to pick a niche. A lot of people don't do this step because they think, well, I can create videos and photos of any products and for any niche, right? So they don't pick a niche. And you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot a little bit if you don't do this step. So let me give you an example to help demonstrate why picking a niche is important as a UGC creator. creator. So let's say that you want to work with this beauty brand, right? This beauty brand is significantly more likely to work with a creator who already specializes in working with beauty brands, because they're going to look at that UGC creator and they're going to say, okay, well, this person already knows everything about the beauty industry, that this person already has experience working with beauty brands, or this person knows how to take photos or videos of beauty products already, this person cares about beauty products, right? They're going to assume all of those things if you predominantly work with beauty brands. However, if you are someone who works with anything and anyone and you don't have a specific niche or category, then it's not to say that you won't land that deal. It's just to say that you're going to be at a lesser footing than the UGC creator who specializes in that specific type of content, okay? So picking a niche is important. When you're trying to decide what your niche is going to be, just think about like, what do you like? You can have a couple of niches if you want to. It's always easier if you have fewer or one, but it's up to you. I'm not going to dictate, but just think about what do you like? Do you like beauty brands? Do you like technology? Like, what do you like? Okay. Okay. Days 2 to 9. So because I've given you 7 days here, you can probably guess that there's quite a lot to get through. So this is when you need to start building your portfolio. We're just going to dive right in and start building your portfolio. Now, this bit usually scares people because they're like, oh my God, when you hear the word portfolio, I don't know about you, but I imagine like this really chic thing. I imagine like model portfolios for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I just imagine something that takes a lot of time and that's really difficult to do. And don't worry, because it's not. Now, you can build a portfolio 2 ways. You can either host it publicly and create like an Instagram page or a TikTok page that is dedicated to you sharing the type of content that you can create, and therefore it's open to everyone. You can private it, but it's open to most people to see. Or you can create one privately on something like Canva. And I'll put a link to Canva below in case you've never signed up, but it's a really great tool. It has loads of different templates that you can use to build your portfolio. So the purpose here is that you need to set out to create some example content that will allow brands to really see what you're capable of and give them a good idea of what you can produce for them. Now, a lot of people think like I can only have a portfolio if I've worked with brands already, and that's not true. You can capture content for the purpose of your portfolio without actually working with these brands. All you've got to do is make sure that you're clearly saying like, this is for example reasons only, right? So you're clearly saying this wasn't a paid partnership with this brand. This is just a shot that I captured to be used as an example. So that's what you want to try and do. You want to set out to create some content so that your brands can look at your content and think, okay, yeah, this is pretty decent. I would like to work with them. If you're stuck when it comes to figuring out what type of content to actually capture for your portfolio, don't worry, I'm going to give you some ideas. So the first is product demonstrations or like how-to videos or photos, but that usually works best in a video format. So creating a video where you are demoing a product and explaining the features and stuff like that, because that is a common type of content that a brand would want from you as part of a UGC partnership. Another type, which is kind of similar, is product reviews. So creating some content where you are talking about a specific product and explaining why you like it. And another type that you can think about is unboxings. So when you get a parcel in the post and it looks all pretty and you're unwrapping it and you're taking a video or taking a few photos, or you're taking like a flat lay, you know, when you're up above and you've got products and, you know, it's not a very good way of describing flat lay. You know what I mean. I'll put an example up here. That's the type of content that you want to look into creating, because that's really strong content for you to have as part of your portfolio. Biggest tip here though, before we move on to the rest of the plan, is that I don't want you to buy any kit yet. So please don't go out and buy this really fancy camera with this £2,000 lens and do all this stuff. And you know, I don't want you to do that yet. For this time being, you can really work with what you've got. So your phone will be enough. Some natural light will be enough. If you're really keen on buying anything, then what I would recommend you do is you invest in a ring light, but that would be it. Like, I don't think you need more than that at the moment. Remember, with UGC content, a brand isn't looking for content that is highly, highly polished. It's supposed to look like it's come from a customer or from a general person of the public, which it has. It's come from you, right? So it doesn't need to be super polished and highly produced. It just needs to feel a bit more real. Okay, so moving on to day 10 through to day 12, this is the time where I want you to do some research. I want you to start collating a list of brands for you to work with potentially on a UGC basis. And there's a few different ways that you can do this. Some good old simple snooping is going to get you far. So if you know of any other UGC creators, or you know, you just set out to try and find some, search them on Instagram, search them on TikTok, have a little look at the kind of brands that they've worked with. Some of them will show it on their page, some of them won't, but it's always worth having a little bit of a nose, because it might give you a bit of an insight into which brands actually work with creators in this type of partnership. It's also really worth you just going on brands' Instagram pages or TikTok pages that you like and having a look at the style of content that they share, because that will give you an insight as to whether or not they hire UGC creators. If you see a lot of content what looks like it's been produced from a creator and they've not necessarily tagged anyone, or it doesn't look like it's part of a paid partnership, then that is a clear sign that they work with creators on a UGC basis. It's not a tricky thing to do, but it requires a bit of practice. But the best way to do that is just to start snooping. You'll get in the habit where you'll be able to just notice, like every now and then, now you'll be like, oh, that was a UGC post, right? Now, when you find brands who you want to pitch to, you want to make sure you are organizing yourself and you're keeping track of who these brands are. So you're writing down their Instagram handle, their TikTok handle, you're writing down their email address if you can find it, because you're going to need this information when it comes to pitching to them, right? I also want you to have a look at the type of content that they share, because you need to make sure that you can produce content that aligns with the content that they already use. That is the easiest way to figure out if you're going to be the right creator for them. If they share a style of content that you don't like or you don't create, then that's a big kind of, it's not a red flag, but it's a flag to let you know that that partnership might not be the best one for you. Okay, day 13. Now I want you to spend this day thinking about some money, some moolah. I want you to calculate your rate on day 13, okay? And I'm going to give you some things to think about when you're trying to come up with your rate. So the first thing you want to think about is how much you want to get paid per hour for your work. You need a base rate, right? How much do you want to get paid per hour for your work? You then need to think about how long is it going to take to produce the type of content that you are going to produce. So this might vary depending on the brand you're working with and depending on what they've asked from you. So when they brief you, they will ask for a specific type of content. So it might vary. For example, if a brand wants a 3-minute TikTok from you, right, and it needs to have all these transitions in it, then that's probably going to take longer for you to produce than if a brand just wants a static photo. It will depend on what the photo is, it depends on the brand you're working with, etc. But that's just an example of how the amount of hours you spend on a piece of content can differ greatly. So keep that in mind as well, and you just want to make a list of your rates for different content types. So how much do you think roughly you're going to charge for one TikTok that's 60 seconds versus a TikTok that's 3 minutes versus a photo for Instagram versus a reel for Instagram, etc. Just make a list so that you've got basically a rate card. I don't want you to share this with people, do not get me wrong. You just need it for your own reference so that when you're negotiating with brands, you know what your price is, right? Okay, so now we're moving on to days 14 to 20. So we are past the halfway mark. It's now time for you to start pitching. It's exciting. Got there quickly, didn't we? We want to start pitching to those brands that we've just identified as potential partners. There's a few things you want to keep in mind when you are pitching. The first thing is you've got to really work on your mindset here. And the reason why is because you're going to get ghosted. You're going to get ghosted. People are going to say no. That's okay. They're well within their right to do so, by the way. Like sometimes when a brand says no, they have several reasons for saying no. They're not saying no because they hate you as a person. They're saying no because they've got their other reasons internally as to why they can't work with you or any UGC creator at that time. So we've got to make sure that we're not taking rejection personally and we're just seeing it as a stepping stone to finding the right brand partners for us. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is to pay attention to what you're including in your pitch message. So a few things you want to make sure you include. The first is examples of work, either screenshots or clickable links so they can very easily see examples of some of the content that you would create. If you decided to build your portfolio on Canva, for example, then export it as a PDF and attach it. If you decided to build your portfolio on Instagram or TikTok, then make sure you have linked to that channel so they can check out some of your work. I also want you to make sure you talk about why you create content within that specific niche or product category. So if you've decided that you're focusing on beauty, you need a sentence in there to explain why. Because you love beauty, because you worked in beauty, etc. Right? Show that you actually care about the products that they create. Next, I want you to include some testimonials. So this is only for people who have worked with brands on a UGC basis before. If you have worked with brands, ask for a testimonial. Doesn't have to be long, just a sentence of a brand saying, yeah, you're great to work with. Include it, reference which brand said that, because that is a great proof point. It's going to help you seal the deal. But most importantly than all of that stuff, you need to make it crystal clear that you are trying to work with this brand on a UGC basis. Put it in the subject of your email if you're emailing them. Put it in the first or second line of your pitch if you're DMing them. This needs to be clear because they're going to get a lot of pitches from influencers and UGC creators, and they might only be looking for UGC creators at this time, which is great for you, but they need to know that that is what you're offering. That needs to be clear, okay? In regards to whether or not you should DM or email, both. Whatever you've got. If you've only got an Instagram handle, then DM them. If you've got an email and an Instagram handle, then do both, right? Let's cover all bases, Okay, let's cover all angles. So days 21 to 24. Hopefully we've got a response, maybe 2 responses from some brands, which is really exciting. So now what you want to make sure you're doing is negotiating and contracting these brands. So it's one thing to get a response, it's another thing to actually secure the deal and get a contract signed. Most brands will have a contract already and they will share this with them. This is usually the case because they like to dictate the terms. So most of the time they're going to send you a contract. If they don't have a contract, then you still need to make sure a contract has been signed, and you will probably need to not create your own, don't panic, but have your own. And you can get your own contract either through using various templates online. A lot of them are paid, but they're worth it. Or you can get a template from a lawyer on Fiverr. I've actually done that before. It's pretty easy. It took a couple of days and it costs like £30. But as I mentioned, most of the time, the brand is going to have a contract for you to sign. You want to make sure that you are reviewing the contract properly. You're looking through all the terms. If you're not sure on what some of it means, Google it, or again, get a lawyer on Fiverr for a couple of days to help you through it, okay? It's really important that you pay attention to the contract because you are signing it. So once it's signed, you're kind of obliged to stick to everything in there. So don't breeze through it, pay attention to what's included. When it comes to negotiating, stand firm on your rate, okay? If you followed the formula I mentioned before, how much you want to get paid per hour, how long it's going to take, you should have a good idea of what is going to be worth it for you in order to take this deal on. Your time is valuable, okay? So just make sure you try to stand your ground with your rate. And if you're ever in a situation where a brand refuses to meet you, but you really want to work with them, discount your rate and make it clear that it's discounted. Don't just reduce it, because if they want to work with you again, they're going to want to work with you at the reduced rate. Whereas if you've discounted it, that they know that if they work with you again, they need to pay you the full rate. See what I mean? Hope that makes sense. Okay, days 24 to 30. This is your time to show off, guys. It's time for you to create and deliver the content, right? So you'll know what you need to create because it will be clearly stated in the contract. It's time to get to work. Show off a bit. Show them what you can do. It's so powerful when you really, really work hard to create really high quality content, because brands will come back to you and you might end up securing yourself a long-term partner, which is really like the gold standard of partner in any form of partnerships, right? So really show off and create some high quality content. Always refer back to the brand's social channels before you start creating, because it will help you focus when it comes to the style of content you want to create. It'll help you ensure that whatever you're producing is going to work on their channels, right? Because you've done a bit of research and you know what they like. Also, pro tip, don't get any other brand in the shot. They probably will have this in the contract anyway. Never get another brand in the shot, even if the brand isn't a competing brand. You can't get their logo in the shot. Make sure it's only the partner's logo included in your shot or in your video. So just a pro tip. So day 30 and onwards, you are pretty much done now. This is the last day of your 30-day plan. Congratulations, I'm really happy for you. I knew you'd do it. Never doubted you. So now it's just time for you to invoice and to upsell. So when it comes to invoicing, you can get a template online. I have a really good template available in the Creators Club. So if you join, you get instant access to that. But you just want to make sure that you have sent them a professional invoice for your work. You then want to request results for your partnership and/or a testimonial. So if you feel like it went well, ask for a testimonial. If you feel like it didn't go well, then ask for some feedback so you can figure out on what you can do better next time. But it's really powerful for you to start storing these testimonials and results for your future pitches. When it comes to upselling, if you feel like you enjoyed working with this brand and the partnership went well, why not ask them about a longer term deal? Why not present new ideas for them and talk about different content that you'd love to create for them on like a monthly basis? You've already formed a relationship there. You've proved that you can, fulfill a brief. So now's a really good time for you to leverage that and try and secure a longer term deal. So that's it. You're done. You're now a UGC content creator, just like that. Wild, right? So if you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did, please can you let me know in the comments so I know to make more videos like this. Please also like my video and yada yada yada. But also you might want to stick around on my channel and watch this video. It's all about my top tips for becoming a full-time content creator. So I think you'll find them really, really insightful and useful. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you in my next video.